Hey everybody, Pastor Nikki here, and I am doing our devotional a little bit early for this next month because I'm always late, and so I'm trying to be better about that. But anyways, we're finishing up the book of Genesis this month, and I've had a wonderful time studying this book of the Bible with you. I have some of the emails that were sent to me this month already here. I've got them highlighted, little things I want to share with the team that were so insightful and so wise. And I just want to thank you for those of you that have been faithful to send me your thoughts, because I'm growing from what you're sharing with me, and I love that. We're all growing together. So anyways, I just wanted to talk to you about two things that I see in the life of Joseph as we finish up the book of Genesis. And the first one is that we see that he's faithful wherever he is placed. Wherever he is placed, whether it was as a servant in Potiphar's house, we see he starts as at the bottom rung, and we see slowly, because of his character, because of his faithfulness, because of how hardworking he is, we see him going up that ladder to being the lead servant in the household. And it even says that Potiphar didn't even look into the things that he put underneath Joseph because he so trusted him. And then we know the story. He ends up in prison because of a lie told by Potiphar's wife. But there, even in prison, even as a prisoner, he's placed in charge of different areas within the prison. And it says that the guards didn't even look into the areas that he was in charge of because they so trusted him. They knew that if it was under his rule, it was getting done. And then we see the same thing in the palace. We see him being faithful. We see the king giving him his signet ring, him being second in command in the palace and being faithful to do what he was asked to do and finding favor in that. So no matter where he was placed, whether it was an obscure place like a prison or it was in an elevated place like a palace, he remained the same. His character remained the same. His integrity remained the same. And that just so challenged me because he was the same person when he was visible as he was when he was invisible. He had the same heart, the same character, the same integrity, whether he was a servant or he was a king. And God help us to do the same, that whether I'm cleaning a toilet or I'm in a nursery class or I'm up on the stage performing a song or I'm preaching a message or I'm loving on my family or I'm at work serving the people that I work with, wherever I am, I walk in the same character, the same integrity, and the same values. And so that was really encouraging to me and challenging to me. The second one was just that he had a God perspective. When his brothers come to him there and he shares with them, I am your brother that you sold so many years ago as a slave. They're afraid. They're terrified. And he says, don't be afraid. He says, don't be discouraged by seeing me. Know that I see that you meant this for evil, but God has used this for good to save a remnant of our people. He did this so that many would stay alive during this famine that would come. Like, he sees the God in it. He sees the purpose in it. And I just realized the importance of us having a God perspective about a situation before we run into it, before we respond to it, before we react to it, having the God perspective. The Bible says, my ways are higher, my thoughts are higher than your ways and your thoughts. And the Bible says all over the scriptures that he knows, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but he knows a little bit more than we know. David says, I see in part, but God, you see the whole picture. And we need a God perspective. And how many times have I rushed ahead into a situation without saying, God, give me your perspective. Help me to see this person the way you see them. Help me to see the situation the way you see this situation. See this disagreement the way you see it. We need a God perspective. Even as a worship team, there'll be times that we have conflict. God, give me a God perspective on this conflict. There'll be times where, every time that we lead worship together, where we can sit together and say, God, give us a God perspective for Sunday. What do you want to do? What's your heart? What's your desire for this time that we have together? And gaining that God perspective is so important into us walking out his ways. once we have his perspective, it's much easier to walk out his ways. So anyways, I pray that encourages you. I'd love to hear from you what God teaches you from the life of Joseph. And next month, we'll be back with something brand new to learn and grow together. Love you guys so much, and I hope to see you at the barbecue that's coming up in just a few weeks. Bye.